All right. So there were confirmation hearings for 6 potential Trump picks, and the only article I find is for Pam Bondi. So, not even Marco Rubio. I mean, I understand that you might, question the importance of all the others, but okay, just the Attorney General, not even Secretary of State. All right, whatever. So, anyway, Pam Bondi says she won't play politics as Attorney General, but doesn't rule out probes of Trump's foes. So, you won't play politics, but you'll play politics. Cool. Pam Bondi, Donald Trump's pick for Attorney General, sought to reassure Democratic senators Wednesday that her Justice Department would not prosecute anyone for political purposes, but also refused to rule out the potential for investigations into adversaries of the Republican president-elect. Her often testy confirmation hearing centered on concerns that Trump would seek to use the Justice Department's law enforcement powers to exact retribution against opponents, including investigators who investigated him. Democrats pressured her on whether she could maintain the department's independence from the White House and say no to the president if asked to do something unethical. While Republicans welcomed her as a course correction for a Justice Department they believe has pursued a liberal agenda and unfairly pursued Trump through investigations resulting in 2 indictments. All right, let's see. What did I want to mention about this? Okay. There isn't anything, I guess. What would you do if career DOJ prosecutors came to you with a case to prosecute grounded in the facts and law, but the White House directs you to drop the case as Senator Chris Coons, a Delaware Democrat? Senator Bondi replied, "If I thought that would happen, I would not be sitting here today. That will not happen." Uh huh. Yeah, she's just basically saying that, no, I'm going to side with Trump. Which we knew she would. I mean, like I mentioned in yesterday's video, she was prosecuting Trump University until Trump gave her a check. So, for a re-election campaign. So, no. The line of questioning laid bare what Democrats see as the stakes of Bondi's appointment, particularly given the pressure Trump wielded on his Justice Department during his first term to advance his personal interests, including by demanding that the then FBI director abandon an investigation into an ally and by firing his first attorney general following his recusal from an investigation into Trump's 2016 campaign. Heading into another term, he's also called for investigations into perceived foes, including prosecutors and lawmakers who investigated him over offenses, including trying to undo the 2020 election. I need to know that you would tell the president no if you're asked to do something that's wrong, illegal, or unconstitutional, said Senator Dick Durbin, the committee's top Democrat, who noted that Bondi had represented Trump during the first of 2 Senate impeachment trials. Bondi, the former Attorney General of Florida and the first woman to hold that job, repeatedly stressed that she would not play politics with the Justice Department or pursue anyone for political reasons. She said she would uphold the Constitution and said the public, not the president, would be her client. Of course not, she said, when asked by Republican Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana if she would start with a name to prosecute and then look for a crime. I hope no attorney general going forward would ever do that, she added. Let's hope she actually believes that. But those reassurances did not allay Democratic concerns about her loyalty to Trump. Her testimony at times echoed Trump's campaign trail rhetoric as she refused to denounce some of his more incendiary claims and repeatedly invoked the size of Trump's election win in November. Look at the map of California, senatorship, it's bright red, as proof of a mandate for sweeping change. Wait, what? I'm sorry, California did not vote for Trump. They voted for Harris. What drugs is she on? And what mandate? Literally less than 50% of the popular vote voted for Trump. Yes, he won the Electoral College by a landslide. That he did. But he didn't win a mandate because most people did not vote for Trump. He just simply won because that's why people rail against third-party candidates. They railed about him not because they don't think that third-party candidates should exist, but under these circumstances, Trump was going to win. And unfortunately, those of us who said that were proven right. So, no, he was not given a mandate. All right. Given a chance by Senator Mazie Hirono, a Hawaii Democrat, to reject Trump's characterization of supporters arrested in the January 6, 2021 insurrection at the Capitol as hostages or patriots, Bondi simply said, "I'm not familiar with that statement." Yeah, you'd have to be living under a rock to not be familiar with that statement. So I'm going to say she just didn't want to respond. She also refused to say she would encourage Trump not to issue blanket pardons of all 1,500 people who have been charged in the attack that left more than 100 police officers injured. But Bondi did denounce violence against police officers, adding, "I'm not going to speak for the president, but the president does not like people that abuse police officers either." Really? Yeah, well, let's see who he ends up pardoning. If it's the people who indeed harmed police officers, and let's see if what she says is true. Because I don't believe that. I mean, if those police officers voted for him or he felt that they liked him, then yeah, he probably would not want them to be harmed. But otherwise, not a care. And even then, it's iffy whether he would care. All right. Bondi also wouldn't directly answer when asked whether Trump lost in 2020 to Democrat Joe Biden, only going so far initially to say that Biden is the president. She later said she accepted the election results, but also suggested there was fraud, alluding to her time as an advocate for the campaign in Pennsylvania after that election, where she said she saw many things while on the ground. Yeah, you claim to be that the people are the client and not Trump, and yet you sound like him. Many things? What does that even mean? I mean, yeah, you could say that about literally anything, because if you watch something, a big production like an election going on, you're going to see many things. That doesn't necessarily mean fraud. Very, very bizarre. We shouldn't want there to be any issues with election integrity in our country. There is no evidence of widespread fraud that impacted the election's outcome. Okay, so the first sentence was a quote, I think. Yeah, the first sentence was a quote. The second is just pointing out there's no evidence. She backed up Trump's claims that the prosecutions against him amounted to political persecution, saying the Justice Department had been weaponized for years and years and years, and it's got to stop. Yeah, these are definitely Trump talking points, and she's sounding just like him. Yeah, this makes me feel confident. They targeted Donald Trump, Bondi said. They went after him, actually starting back in 2016. They targeted his campaign. They have launched countless investigations against him, she added. If I'm an attorney general, I will not politicize that office. I'm sorry. The fact that you think that anyone but Trump politicized the DOJ kind of gives the game away. In a heated exchange with Senator Adam Schiff, a California Democrat and frequent target of Trump's ire, she stated that every case will be done on a case-by-case basis and said no one should be prosecuted for political purposes. But she equivocated when Schiff asked Bondi whether she would investigate Jack Smith, the Justice Department special counsel who brought 2 indictments against Trump. I haven't seen the file. I haven't looked at anything. It would be irresponsible of me to make a commitment regarding anything without looking at the file, she said. So just the fact that she is willing to entertain that Jack Smith is the bad guy here, like I said, continues to give the game away. And the fact that this is the second time this article mentioned a heated exchange tells me why there's an article on her and possibly not on anyone else. Probably none of the other hearings got heated exchanges, or at least enough to warrant people caring about, or the press thinking that people will care about it. Then, as the two spoke over each other, Bondi said that what she'd been hearing on the news is horrible. Which news? Fox News? Because I have not heard anything horrible about Jack Smith. I've heard about horrible things about Trump and his supporters, but nothing about Jack Smith. The suggestion that the investigations into Trump were politically motivated had been sharply contested by Attorney General Merrick Garland and Smith. In a report released this week, Smith said politics played no part in his decisions, and the evidence his team gathered was sufficient for Trump to have been convicted at trial on charges of scheming to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. Smith dismissed that case and a separate one charging Trump with illegally handling classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago estate in Palm Beach, Florida, after Trump's election win in November, citing long-standing Justice Department policy prohibiting criminal cases against a sitting president, which I do not understand, because if you're going to say no one is above the law, that should include the president. Sitting or elected or whatever, if you commit a crime, even if you do it as president and it's an official act, why are we saying, oh, it's perfectly fine for a president to commit crimes? What? That makes zero sense to me. So yeah, I'm kind of miffed that that policy exists, and that because, like in the hush money case, he got off with unconditional discharge simply because he's about to become president. I consider all of that bullshit. A felon is a felon is a felon. And he should not get special treatment just because he was reelected. He is, yes, he is the president, but he's still a criminal. And people should see that you voted for a criminal. All right. Oops. The Justice Department under Garland also investigated Biden over his mishandling of classified information. No charges were filed, and named a special counsel to investigate Biden's son, Hunter, who was convicted of tax and gun crimes before being pardoned by his father. Okay. Now, the fact that if the Justice Department was weaponized, Garland would not have opened a case against Biden, nor Biden's son. So, now, the reason the charges were dropped were that Biden cooperated. He returned the documents. He wasn't hoarding them. He wasn't trying to move them so the FBI couldn't find them. He just said, whoops, my bad, and gave them back. Now, how it is that they didn't notice that he took classified documents from when he was vice president, that he accidentally took them and nobody noticed it until he became president, is another matter. But he still cooperated. Now, Biden should not have made a big deal of the fact that he would not pardon Hunter, because I'm sure he knew that there was no way that he wouldn't pardon his son if he had to. Because the person, now he allowed the investigation to continue, but I guess he was hoping that, because most people who commit these crimes, unless they actually commit other crimes on top of that, like violent crimes, they don't get prosecuted for this. So he was probably hoping that in the end, a judge will realize that most people don't get prosecuted for this, so why should we prosecute Hunter? When he realized that A, he did get prosecuted, and B, that Kash Patel, who has it out for Hunter, might become the FBI director, he wanted to protect Hunter. Because at the end of the day, he's still a dad. Am I miffed that he shouldn't have been on his high horse saying he wouldn't pardon Hunter? Absolutely. I understand why he did it, because at the time he thought that things would go well, either for Hunter and with the case, or that an absolute whack-up job wouldn't be entering the White House and potentially putting into the FBI, making into the FBI director someone who carries an enemies list. So when that happened, the calculus changed, and Biden had to pardon Hunter. But so I understand why he went on his high horse, because he wanted to show the difference between him and today's Republican Party. But that made him look foolish when he did indeed end up pardoning Hunter, even though it was for understandable reasons. All right. Republicans expressed overwhelming support for Bondi and her planned agenda, which she said includes protecting gun rights, free speech, and the border, and fighting violent crime and terrorism. Okay, now, Trump has mentioned mass deportations, and I'm sorry if you're one of those who thinks that mass deportations just include violent criminals as opposed to just any undocumented worker or migrant for that matter. Um, but most migrants, most undocumented immigrants are not violent. The only crime they committed was coming here illegally, which is a freaking misdemeanor. You just voted, because the same people who are whining about this are the same people who voted in a criminal, and who is now a convicted felon, which a felony is more than a misdemeanor. So don't go telling me that you actually care about the law, because you don't. So then there's that. The fact that she's protecting gun rights. Who the hell is trying to take guns away? I mean, regulate guns. Regulate to make sure that people who shouldn't have guns don't have them. But everything gets regulated. Even free speech, which she claims that she's going to protect, has limitations. Like the proverbial shouting fire in a crowded theater when there is literally no fire. You can get prosecuted for the trampling deaths that you're going to cause from that. So free speech is not absolute. So absolutely nothing is absolute. So I don't know what she means about gun rights. I don't even know what she means about free speech. Because because number one, free speech only involves the government. The government can't prosecute you for saying things. And so unless she's claiming she is not going to prosecute people who are critical of Donald Trump, I do not believe her. But what I think she means is that, in fact, she's going to prosecute those people who not necessarily criticize Trump or other Republicans, but who say you're a Republican and you say something batshit insane. And I point out that's batshit insane, or I point out the facts of whatever crazy ass thing you just said. And I've seen this many times where people will whine, but my free speech, you're trampling on my free speech. No, we're not. If you're going to say something in a public forum, you do not have the privilege of everyone agreeing with you. That is not what free speech means. You have the free speech to say whatever crazy ass idea comes into your head, and I have the free speech right to criticize that or to disagree with it or whatever. Free speech does not mean consequence-free speech. It means that you have a right to an opinion, I have a right to an opinion, and I have a right to mock you for your opinion, just as much as you have a right to mock me for mine. That's how this works. Because neither of us are the government. So neither of us, by reacting to someone's opinion, neither one of us is even close to violating free speech, because neither of us are government, nor is it a violation to, have a debate, which is what seems to be happening. These people just don't like being corrected, and because they don't like being corrected or given information, they whine that their free speech is being violated, because they do not like that people are pointing out that they might be wrong about something. So, by day's end, her confirmation seemed assured in the Republican majority Senate. Republicans suggested that pointed Democratic questions during the hearing about Kash Patel, Trump's pick for FBI director, was a more pressing concern for Democrats than Bondi. Let me just check something. I don't think Kash Patel was... Yeah. Okay, this is old. Let me just... Okay, yeah, this is old. I didn't think he was confirmed today. Had a confirmation hearings today. If confirmed, I will work to restore confidence and integrity to the Department of Justice and each of its components, Bondi said. Under my watch, the partisanship, the weaponization will be gone. America will have one tier of justice for all. One can only hope, but it's your new boss potential new boss, that weaponized the DOJ, not Biden. Because again, Biden allowed a Republican special counsel to investigate Hunter, and Merrick Garland investigated Biden for retaining classified documents. So, where's the weaponization under the Biden administration? Just because Trump was indicted, he was indicted for committing crimes. It wasn't like people pulled shit out of their ass and decided, yeah, we're going to get him for that. No, there was evidence. And there were witnesses, so no. All right. Even as Democrats expressed concern that Trump would politicize the Justice Department, Republican senators insisted that what had happened over the last 4 years and that Bondi's selection represented an opportunity to change direction. Okay. So Republicans are upset. See, Republicans have to show that Democrats politicized the Justice Department. So when Trump does it again and more blatantly, people can just say, oh, well, that's just how government runs. And nobody's going to think, no, that's not how this should work. Senator Chuck Grassley, the Republican committee chair, listed years of grievances against the Justice Department, including the Trump-Russia investigation and more recently a Garland-era memo aimed at targeting threats from parents at school board meetings. Okay, so I guess we should be allowed to threaten the school board because we don't like something that happens in school? That should be okay. And that's weaponizing the justice system. Okie dokie. And Trump Russia? Well, that's been settled. So, what? Miss Bondi, should you be confirmed, Grassley said, the actions you take to change the department's course must be for accountability so that the conduct I just described never happens again. So, translation, he doesn't want Trump investigated about anything ever. And parents should be allowed to threaten the school boards. I do not care what side of the aisle you are, because I have criticized the MAGA school boards. I've criticized them. Never have I suggested violence towards them. Maybe cartoon violence, but it's cartoon violence. So, it sounds like, again, he's giving the game away. Trump should never be investigated about anything ever, no matter how egregious his actions are. And because MAGA is the best thing ever, they should be allowed to threaten people that they don't agree with. Yeah, that sounds like a very law-abiding citizenry that we have to look forward to. Yikes. Anyway, that is the end of that article. So with that, I will see you guys in the next video.